be here. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I had another meeting as well on the other side of the house, but I really want to recognize the chairwoman, Cheryl Crossley, and Bola Rulli, the executive director of the National American Indian Council. So thank you very much for your support of being here. And then I also want to echo what Senator Udall said, is that it's all of you play an important part being here in Washington, D.C. Don't let anyone say that you don't play an important part in coming and talking to each and every one of us. It's important that you continue to come to Washington, D.C. and speak on issues that you feel are very important, whether they're for Native American country or whether it's issues that you believe that you wanted to get involved in other areas. Come and express your opinions. Continue to tell members of Congress how you feel, because we need to continue to make sure that the members both on the Senate side and on the House side, that they do the right thing for the American people and not for the best interest of those that have. And I think we're about everyone, taking care of everyone. And that's why, I've been a strong supporter of Native American issues, specifically sovereignty. And, I want to make sure that we continue to protect sovereignty in our areas, but looking at sovereignty, I also want to make sure that we continue to look at funding. That's very important, not just because gaming is around. I believe that we have a responsibility at the federal level as members of Congress is to ensure that funding goes in to a lot of our reservations too as well, whether it's in the area of education, whether it's the area of housing, whether it's roads or freeways or water rights. It's important that we obtain the same kind of dignity, the same kind of respect, and the same kind of funding that others receive outside of the reservation. Isn't that right? We should have it. We're people like anyone else, and we should be treated the same way that anybody else gets treated. Whether we live in a reservation, we want the same quality of education, we want clean water, and don't we want affordable housing in our area? We want the same thing that others have gotten. And just because we're in a reservation doesn't mean that we don't have any pride in what we have. And that's why it's important that we continue to get the kind of funding that's important for a lot of us. That's why as I look around this room, there are many leaders that are here, many of whom are elders and leaders in our community. It's important to continue to be a voice. And it has been said, when an elder journeys to the spirit world, it holds Smithsonian institutions worth of information goes with him or her. So as it goes with us, we've got to share it with others, because we just can't have it and not let others know that it's there. That's why, in my office, we have Ray Martin, who's Native American right here, who works for me right here to my right, and then Linda Macias is my chief of staff. In fact, she's the first Hispanic chief of staff in the history of the United States here in Washington, D.C. with women. Affordable housing is very important to a lot of us, and I know that we're going to talk a little bit about affordable housing, and it's the American dream for all of us to own a home and to be able to get the kind of assistance. And I remember coming from a large family of 15. I come from a family of 15. I'm the 15th. And, a lot of us, because my parents couldn't afford a home, we lived in a lot of the projects. And there's no difference between the reservations, moving from one place to another, and then wanting to own your own home, where you have stability and you have roots. And there's a lot of places that people say, teachers would say, why is it that you have to move and go from one school to another school to another school? Well, my parents could never afford a home, and because it was about affordable housing and making sure that we had a home that we could live in, and where I could actually stay there and have the same friends all the time. Because when you have no choice as a child, you move wherever your parents move. And that's why it's important in affordable housing is that we allow that process, because there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of hope, and there's a dignity that is there when you know that you have your roots and you have a home and you have a room and you have a roof over your head and you have the services that are there. And I know the very first time that when we finally bought a home, I finally felt good. The only problem is I had to share it with all my other brothers and sisters. That was about the only thing, but it was home. And I could go to one school then. I didn't have to go to another school. But that's why I also believe in the reservations is that we've got to have the same quality of education and have schools that are in our reservations where our kids can go there and see teachers that look like them, they can teach like them, and won't stereotype what is being taught in our books right now. Because when you go into some of the other public schools, it seems like we still need to correct our educational system. That's why when Karen mentioned earlier that I carried legislation to make sure that here we have Heritage, Native American Heritage Day, which is right after Thanksgiving on a Friday. It begins to teach us the importance of the contributions of Native Americans who have made to this country. And we've got to know the contributions from a positive perspective and not from the negative, because the books have not been changed. And those stereotypes are still there. And we want every child, every individual to feel proud of who he is. And we want the elders to know, hey, you know what? We were here. We're the first Americans. We're the only Americans. Everybody else is a foreigner. And so when you talk about immigration, well, then I guess we get everybody else out, and we only keep Native Americans here, and everybody else is, is a foreigner in this country. But it's important that we deal with these problems and we deal with the issues that are facing us. That's why I'm proud of what President Obama has done in recently in supporting, where he signed the appropriation legislation that protected the present level of funding for Indian housing. And that's important for a lot of us. And we've got to say this because it's not about the presidential elections that are coming up. It's about what he has done and things that we have done. And it's easy to get involved in the politics in one way or another and say, well, it's a presidential election, but we've got to say, what has he done? And we've got to commend the president for his work on tribal government and his commitment to you and to us and the American people. I want you to know that I stand with you fully on funding Indian housing block grants. So I'm there. I know earlier we talked, I heard the comments about the education and the Class Act, and I want to make sure that we continue to do that. Sitting on the Ag Committee for the very first time, we were able to put in Native American institutions to get funded. Now, unless we're sitting at the table, like they don't listen to us, that's why you all play an important part when you go into a room, because then you're at that member's table and you're telling them what needs to be done. And if you're not there, it's like those words are going to be lost. So it's important that you continue to do that. That's why I co-sponsored H.R. 1234, which is Supreme Court, the Carcieri decision. This decision created ambiguities and uneasiness for tribes. I'm committed to doing what is right, enacting the legislation to fix this harmful, unjust decision. Every tribe should have a right to take land into trust and provide housing for its members. And we recently just did a water rights for Saboba. This is the first time the Saboba Native Americans and I co-sponsored and helped in that area where the government is actually putting the funds. It's not coming from gaming or anyone else on water rights and land transfer in that area. So things can be done, but we've got to be persistent. We can't give up. We've got to fight for your rights and what needs to be done. And all of you play an important part, and it's not about the amount of monies that you're making or through gaming. It's about what needs to be done in the area. And then I'm also a co-sponsor of H.R. 205, which is a hard act that allows tribes to develop their land in an effective manner. And I believe in the principles of self-determination, sovereignty, self-government for tribes. These are a few of the many things that need to be done. That's why whatever I can possibly do to focus on increasing resources for schools and tribal college in Indian country, I want to continue to do that. I'm one of your friends. Feel free to call on us to say, you know what, we have one that is willing to champion, because the state of California is the only state that now has a holiday on the third Friday, and we actually are teaching the education aspect in the state of California, but we actually have a holiday. I'm trying to do the same thing here. I'm hoping that one day that we will have a Native American holiday because we have Native American, we have holidays for everybody else that doesn't deserve one, But the true Americans, are the ones who should have it. And so I'm going to continue to fight and to make sure that we do have a holiday, but that we not only recognize that it is a holiday, but we also educate the public of the importance. So this way, every man and woman and children of Native American feel proud of who they are, where you come from. And we should be proud of who we are and where we come from. And we should never hold our heads down. And we should look at all of the positive contributions that we have made in this country, because this country is yours. They are the ones that have intruded in this country. And we've got to let them know that and correct history. So when history is rewritten, we have to say, you are the ones that came on my soil. We allowed you in my soil. We trusted you. You changed the laws. And we're going to change it back. And we're going to have a Native American holiday. With that, thank you very much for having me.